afternoon, folks, and welcome back to Fireside Farms. My name is Megan, and today we're in my kitchen because we have a very large afternoon of cooking ahead of us. So to start with, we're gonna start up dinner for tonight, which is gonna be a beef rump roast. Super quick and easy, one of my favorite things to do on the fly. Then, well, perhaps not in this order, but dinner is definitely first. Then we are going to make some beef jerky for our hunting trip this weekend. I've got roasted green chilies that need to be flash frozen and wrapped in little baggies for storage. Finally, we have all these dehydrated peppers to grind up into a spice powder. It rained here last night, and I think it was in the high 30s when I woke up, so it is a cold and windy day. I'm not gonna spend any time outside, and we are gonna get as much done today as we can. I think we'll fit it all in. I'm not sure about the green chilies because I don't know how long they will take to flash freeze, but come along with me as we preserve the harvest. The ingredients I used for this roast were various spices I already had at home, 3 medium-sized potatoes, tallow, like 5 to 6 cloves of garlic, an onion, and 2 pounds of rump roast. Now I did render that tallow myself, but everything else besides I think 2 of the spices were store-bought. We've already gone through all our potatoes for the year, and the garlic and onion that I grew this last winter was gone fairly quickly since I didn't grow that much. The beef is from a local rangeland fed cattle operation here in the Southwest. They are rangeland fed and fodder finished cattle, and the cattle are actually a different breed that's adapted to the desert called Criollo cattle. I'll link the website down below. It's really interesting to read about, but they're finished without growth hormones, antibiotics, or pesticides, so it is all natural, very, very good tasting and good for the environment beef. Now, I don't really measure garlic and onion with anything but my heart, so basically just use however much you guys want. So what I'll usually do now is add half of my veggies, or 2/3 of my veggies, to the bottom of my pot. I'm pretty terrible at giving recipes because I don't measure anything and I don't really follow recipes. Just kind of think of what would be good together and throw it all in the same pot and see how it goes. But as for the spices that I used, I tried to follow a theme every time I cook, so this was more of a country ranch style pot roast. So I had the barbecue flavors like cumin and paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper. But I've also made a really, really good pork pot roast with balsamic vinegar, rosemary, thyme, and those Italian spices. So you can kind of theme it to whatever you're feeling like that night. Remember to cover the meat completely with water. I do throw a little bit of apple cider vinegar in this one, which is always delicious, and wipe the rim so there's as much of a seal as possible, even though there are vents. And then set it on the counter and leave it be while you go and finish the rest of your day. Okay, so now we are on to freezing the green chili into little individual sized portions. I can't decide if I want to chop it first or just freeze it whole and then chop it when I need it. But I think that if I need it, I will probably just want to toss the frozen chunk in whatever I'm cooking. So I'm gonna have to chop it first. Let me move you guys closer. My kitchen isn't really designed to have a camera in it, so I apologize. There, I think if I put you up higher, you guys can see me. But I don't know if you guys saw the shorts video I put out yesterday about the DIY green chili roaster that Chase made me, which is so cool. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. I don't really explain how he made it, but basically he took old chicken wire, or like tack cloth, the really small square wire things, and he made a basket with it, and then stuck a spare metal pole we had lying around through the middle of it, and then rested those on 2 separate legs sawhorses, and then just fashioned like a little handle out of spare wood. And it's so amazing. So he built this, and we roasted chilies yesterday because I had to pick all of my peppers since I think it's gonna freeze tonight. So the forecast at the local airport has it down to 35 degrees, and we live in a valley and it gets considerably colder than what the airport forecasts often. So since they're forecasting only 3 degrees above freezing, I'm just gonna assume it is going to freeze tonight, and I went and picked out all of my peppers that are in the garden. So I have a whole bushel full of green chilies that we have to roast and freeze up, and I'm very, very excited for it. I am not complaining about the abundance at all. So you can roast green chilies in the oven, and I have done it before with some moderate success, and it really, in a pinch, honestly I probably would have done it with all these chilies if Chase hadn't been awesome and built me that little roaster. But the issue with roasting green chilies is that you want to sear the outside, the outer skin of the chili, very quickly. Let me see if I can show you. So there's some skin left on here. This black stuff is skin left over on the chili that we just got lazy and didn't peel all the way off. It's totally fine and you can eat it. But so you just sear the outer skin of the chili off, which gives it this amazing roasted flavor, but it doesn't cook the inside of the chili. So in the oven, it can be difficult to get that quick, very high heat. You really want to, put your oven as high as it can go, 400, 450, 500, and wait until it's preheated and then stick these guys in there. Make sure to check on them frequently and turn them over because you want all sides evenly roasted. Otherwise, you can do it outside on a campfire, over a grill. I do believe a charcoal grill gets hotter. And it's easier to do it on a charcoal grill, but I've never tried it. I've been eating green chilies and my mouth is on fire. And I'm running out of room on my cutting board, but I didn't want to dirty another dish. But we are just about done. That is a lot of green chili. So I'm just portioning this chili out. Like about the amount that I would want in an egg breakfast that I make. And probably a little bit more. We're a very spicy family, and we put hot pepper in some form or another on almost every dish we eat. So.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road.
Okay guys, we're back. It's been about an hour. I ended up getting a phone call and I had to do some work because I do have a day job. But we are now going to mixed this ground beef for the jerky. It's nice and not as cold as when I pulled it out of the fridge because it's been out for so long since I had to do some work. But I don't like working with really cold meat when I'm making jerky because I mix everything by hand. It just makes my hands go numb. So for the jerky process, I am actually going to wear gloves because I just mix so many spices and stuff into wet meat. It gets places I don't want it. So for my spices, I kind of just use whatever I have in my pantry. As you can tell by the pot roast, I don't measure anything. I measure everything with my heart. So here I have some Cajun seasoning. Paprika is also a must. Ooh, cumin is also a must. I'll have to get that. I have some turmeric. And to go along with turmeric, I'll put in some black pepper because it greatly aids in the absorption of turmeric. And then of course sea salt. I will not be using any curing salts or anything like nitrates. This jerky will be dehydrated, put in bags, and then go straight into the refrigerator. It's gonna be eaten this weekend on the hunt, so I'm not worried about spoilage. And I just wanna use as minimal ingredients as possible, and it'll be safe and fine. This is just a pound of beef from the same grass-fed beef company I talked about earlier. Normally when I make jerky, it's with elk or deer meat that we get during a hunt. But we have a little bit of meat left from the half cow that we bought earlier in the year. And we just split a whole cow with my mom. So we'll be refreshing our meat supply soon, as well as during this upcoming hunt, hopefully getting some deer meat. So this does have a tiny bit more fat. Not much. It is grass-fed meat with desert bred cattle. But it does have a little bit more fat than you would find in ground up deer, elk. But that's okay. As I said, I'm not worried about anything going rancid. It's going to be refrigerated basically until we eat it. All right. So since I don't really measure my spices, I basically go off of look and smell. I like the meat to have changed to a little bit of darker color from the spices. And then usually I mix the spices consistently enough based on smell that it tastes relatively the same every time. Although this will taste different than my normal jerky because it's beef and not game meat. I put a ton of pepper in here. I really enjoy peppery jerky. And then this is the dried padron pepper that we're actually gonna make after this. But we've never tried it in jerky before, so I'm very excited. It's pretty spicy, but it's also got this interesting flavor to it that's very different from the raw padron pepper. So I'm pleasantly surprised by how that turned out just based on a different preservation method. It still smells a bit too meaty for my liking. If I can smell raw meat, then I don't have enough spices. Usually is how that goes.
You can say I lost my mind. I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
I think here we're about done. You can see the pepper and spices all the way through the meat. So now I'm gonna load it up in the jerky tube and we're gonna press it out onto some dehydrator trays. So I didn't really think this process through because my peppers that we need to grind up are taking up my dehydrator space where my meat is going. But I think I can consolidate. I think all the meat is gonna fit on only 2 trays because a pound of beef isn't a whole lot when you actually get it rolled out into strips. So I think 2 trays will be fine. Oops. So this is the jerky gun that I use, Lem brand. I think I got it at Sportsman's. I think they carry this brand. I've never taken whole chunks of meat and cut strips off the flesh and made jerky that way. I've always done it ground and used a gun to and then dehydrated it. So I have no experience with the cutting of the whole meat chunks method, but I can show you how to do this one. So there's no special process to this besides filling up the body with the meat. They do have different head attachments. I prefer the long thin strip jerky, but they also have the circles for the like meat tubes you can do. So that's pretty neat. Let's fill it. When we harvest wild game like elk and deer, we process it ourselves usually, unless it was an elk. Deer we process ourselves, so we don't measure out the cuts of meat. We pack into the freezer. But usually when I make deer jerky, what is happening? Usually when I make deer jerky, I have probably 5 guns worth of jerky when I make it. Whew, this is significantly less than I usually have.
Let's figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down.
And we will set these aside for now until we get the peppers out of the dehydrator. Okay guys, so we are on to making basically chili powder out of these dried peppers. I already have Thai chili peppers in the blender from the beginning of the video. And then I have these, which if you go to my, it might be on my Instagram. If not, I'll put it on after this, after I finish editing this video. But you can see what I harvested from my garden when I got all of the peppers out of my garden yesterday, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna freeze tonight. So this looks like not so much after it's dehydrated, but there are so many peppers. So this is all the Thai peppers I have, which is fine because this is super hot. And we really just use it for like light seasoning over eggs or meat or something. Like where you would use seasoning salt, we use really spicy seasonings. So I believe it's Thai chili peppers are between 50,000, 100,000 Scoville heat units on the Scoville heat unit scale, compared to cayennes, which are about 20,000 to 50,000. So this is a pretty hot pepper. So what I'm gonna do first, since I had so many peppers, I didn't want to dice them up into tiny pieces. So I left them either in halves or wholes. I'm gonna grind them up in the blender first to get them moderately fine, and then I'm gonna use the coffee grinder to make a really, really fine powder. About as good as it's gonna get. Oh no. What? I was literally just gonna say we need a new blender, and then this fell off. What the hell? I don't know where that came from. We might be using the coffee grinder for the last 4 racks of peppers. So the powder isn't so bad right now because it's still in fairly large chunks. But once it goes in this coffee grinder, oh, actually this, what I was gonna say is once it goes in the coffee grinder, it gets really aromatic. So it's pretty typical that the peppers don't dry all the way when they're that large. So what I'll do is I'll grind everything up, put it back on this flat plastic tray, or I can put it on a grated tray with parchment paper under it, and then put it back in the dehydrator just to make sure all of the moisture is gone. But beyond these Thai peppers, I have all of these padron peppers. Oops, just dropped one. We've got a little while to go, and let me finish up these Thais. I think it'll probably be about 3 more rounds in the coffee grinder, and then we'll start on the padron peppers. Now we're on to the padrones. And I want to just tell you that alternatively, like say I dehydrated only a couple peppers and maybe I only had a tray's worth of peppers and I didn't want to put it back in the dehydrator. I have definitely put these just on trays to dry in the ambient air, even in the kitchen. Although I do live in the desert, we have really dry air anyway, so if you're in a humid environment, that might not be good advice. But if you have semi-dry interior air or somewhere that is dry, you don't have to put the powder back in the dehydrator if you don't want to. A lot of times for herbs, like delicate herbs, if I dehydrate them at first and then grind them up and they're still moist enough that I'm not comfortable putting them away for long term, I will just air dry them because I don't want to accidentally expose them to too much heat and denature the beneficial things I'm looking for. So we should put all these seeds in here, huh? I do have some Thai peppers in with this mix. I'm not too worried about it. They don't mind a little extra spice. Really the best thing about this padron pepper spice is its flavor. It just has such an interesting flavor compared to its fresh flavor. Pretty awesome. I'm gonna put less in this go round than I did last time because obviously I've lost a screw from who knows where, so this might not even work, but it just needs a little bit of help. So we're just gonna give it small bites to chew on. I should label these because these two are Thais and these two are padron. And I completely forgot that I had the jerky sitting in the oven. Couldn't do that again. And I completely forgot that I had the jerky sitting in the oven. So the jerky is in the dehydrator at 165, and now these have to air dry until those are done, and then if those aren't crispy, then I'll stick them in the dehydrator. What a mess. Well, that's about it. Let me get the kitchen cleaned up, and for those of you that stuck around till the end, we're gonna go to the garden real quick. Come on, Zeus, come on. Gotta feed the chickens real quick. I have some scraps for them today. They're not huge fans of onion peels or onions in general, but they also compost wood chips for me, so they will compost those as well. There it is. Pretty girls. We're getting 3 more hens in a couple months, and I'm no longer going to be able to do this without a basket. Ah! I just broke one. See, I talked about needing a basket, and then I break an egg. The garden is looking lush. The rains last night kind of perked them up, especially after the sun came out. This broccoli is out of control. Look at how tall this is. Let's check on our little broccoli dude. Oh, there he is. It's about half the size of my palm. Pretty good size. My weird Brussels sprout is still weird. Wrinkly tops, and it's growing just so odd compared to the others. I don't know if you can tell between these two. Look at how knotty and gnarled that one looks. Like there's tons of stunted leaves coming out compared to this healthy looking one. And they're right next to each other with a little leak in between. So I don't know what's going on, guys. If anyone knows, let me know. Well, thank you all for joining me today. That was a very long day in the kitchen. I will see you all next time. We're probably going to be planting out here. Bye.